Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to do a September wrap up. So in the month of September, I read 18 books. It's not as many as I normally have been reading over the last several months, but I'm still pretty happy with what I got read. I got everything on my TBR read except for one book. I had started Dark Lover, which is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, but because I was also reading other books also at the time, I got about halfway through it, so I'm still currently reading that now. I just unfortunately was not able to get it finished, but I did I guess it was about a week or so ago, I did a kind of beginning of the month wrap up and rest of the month TBR kind of thing, since I started my channel a little bit late in September. But I'm just going to kind of go over briefly those books that was in that video in case you did not see that video, and then I'll also proceed into telling you what else I have read for the rest of the month of September. So starting out, I read Dark Peril by Christine Feehan. It was the 18th book in the Dark series. This book followed Dominique, which is a dragon seeker, and Solange, which is a jaguar. Not going to go a whole lot into it because it is the 18th book in a series. I rated that book about a 4. I did enjoy it. Wasn't my favorite, but I really did enjoy it. I'd been looking forward to Solange's book for a long time. She appeared several books before, so I was really looking forward to seeing that. After that, I read, I cannot remember the name of it, but it was just a little short novella in the Anita Blake series. It was 8.5, and it's in the anthology Bite, which is, like I said, it's an anthology of a bunch of different authors. It was cute. It was short. You know, I think I rated it like a 3 stars. Wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just a cute little, like, I think it was like 50 pages, 75 pages, something like that. Just a really cute little short book. After that, I read Dark Predator, which is the 19th book in the Dark series. Zacharias Dela Cruz. He's the oldest of the Dela Cruz brothers, and he was to the point where he didn't think he was going to end up finding his life mate. He had given up. He had saw his brothers through getting their life mates and had decided he was ready just to kind of do the honorable thing and end his life before he became a full-on rogue vampire. And at the very last minute, his life mate popped in. I did end up rating that one a 4 stars as well. And then, like I said, I did talk about this in my previous video, but I read the 6th book in the Slater Brothers series called Brothers. And this book followed all 5 brothers about 20 years after the 5th book happened. And it just kind of takes all 5 brothers and shows where their lives are now with their wives and their children, and definitely one of my favorite series this year. I obviously, because I liked it so much, I did rate that a 5 stars. Then I read book 9 in the Anita Blake series, Obsidian Butterfly. I rated that 4 stars. I really don't remember a whole lot about it. I am enjoying the Anita Blake series. It's not my favorite paranormal by any means. I am listening to them on audiobook, but I just don't remember a whole lot about that one. So after the Obsidian Butterfly, I then read the 20th book in the Dark series by Christine Feehan, Dark Storm. I also gave that a 5 stars. I then proceeded on to book 21 of the Dark series, Dark Lichen, which I rated 4 stars. I think I enjoyed that one. Not as much as I did Dark Storm, but I really did enjoy that one. It answered some questions that the Carpathians have been having for a while as far as why their women cannot have children, and so I think they may have found a solution. So we will see. Then I read just a cute little audiobook called Love at the Salted Caramel Cafe. It was just a cute little, like, 2 or 3 hour long audiobook in the Audible Escape. And I believe I rated that 3 stars. Wasn't really anything wrong with it, as well as the next one, Autumn at Apple Hill. And those are both by Angie Ellington. They were both just really cute stories. I believe they were 100 and something pages. One was like 2.5 hours and the other one was like 3.5 hours on audiobook through the Audible Escape. But one is about a girl who comes back to her hometown and to help her sister run her family's cafe. Her sister kind of picks up running the cafe when her mom kind of has some health issues and cannot do it anymore. And so her sister comes back into town, and handsome stranger comes in, and so it's a romance, so no surprise at what happens there. I also read, like I said, Autumn at Apple Hill, also by Angie Ellington. This one was about a girl who moved back to her hometown after going through a divorce. She comes back and ends up helping run her grandmother's B&B. And one of the guests that ends up staying there becomes her love interest. And at the start of the book, he starts pushing all her buttons to kind of annoy her, and she can't stand him. And like most romances, things happen and love blooms. Then I reread A Quick Bite, which is the very first book in the Arsenault series by Lindsay Sands. I did mention in my previous video I am rereading the series with some friends of mine. I do plan on picking up the second book as soon as they're ready, but I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time around. I had forgotten over 2 years how much I had forgotten of the book. As I was reading it, I was like, okay, I remember that. But leading up to each part, I didn't realize I had forgot as much as I had, and had even forgot how some things played out in the first book. So I really enjoyed that reread of that, and I'm really looking forward to rereading the rest of the series as well with them. Next, I read the 21st book in the Arsenault series, which was the book that I'm currently at that I have not read, and that is The Immortal Who Loved Me. And as always, I absolutely adored it. It was definitely one of my favorite books this month that I read. I rated it 5 stars. To me, it's no surprise. I love every single one of her books in this series, and I cannot wait to read October's book. It is about one of my favorite characters, Justin Brooker, so that one I am super excited for. After that, I was able to pick up Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I enjoyed that probably more than I had any other book in the series. I hear everybody talk about how this is their favorite book, and I totally see why. This was definitely my favorite book as well, and I did obviously rate it 5 stars. After that, I picked up The Merciless, book 1 by Danielle Vega. I was just a little disappointed in this book. I was expecting a whole lot more after hearing some of the reviews that I've heard from some people on BookTube and the Goodreads reviews and stuff like that. I was expecting this super creepy, like exorcism type book, when really I didn't feel like it was scary or creepy or anything. It does follow 5 teenage high school girls, and one girl ends up moving to this town, and first she originally starts talking to a girl named Brooklyn. Kind of within the same day, she starts talking to these other 3 girls, Riley, Grace, and Alexis. And these 3 girls are basically led by Riley. She's kind of the head of their group. When you first meet them, they put themselves off as these really good Christian girls, and that's kind of the way they play off through the entire book. But when Riley decides that Brooklyn, who apparently there's like a history between those two in their past, Riley convinces them that Brooklyn is possessed and needs to have an exorcism done. So they lure them out to this abandoned house to perform an exorcism. I thought that that's the point, that it was going to really start picking up, and it did to an extent. Some twisted things kind of happened, but I didn't find any of them scary or creepy or anything like that. So I don't know. I am excited though to read the next book this month in October, so we'll see where that goes. After that, I picked up Chilly to Die For by Lily York. This one was cute. I did end up rating it 3 stars, but this one was cute. It takes place in a small town in Turtle, Oklahoma, right outside of Oklahoma City, and I believe she's from Chicago, if I'm remembering correctly, but she moves to this small town to run her belated grandfather's ice cream shop. And she loves to bake, loves to cook, total amateur, but she likes to enter competitions. So she enters a chili cook-off that this town is having, and it just so happens when it gets to her turn for the judges to try her chili, the judge dies, falls face first into her bowl of chili. And so she does briefly become the suspect of this murder, but they quickly realize that she had nothing to do with it. After testing her chili and everything like that, they realized that it all happened after all the chili was already put into the separate bowls for judging. And she decides that her and her daughter decide that they are going to solve the mystery of who murdered this judge. And with the help of a handsome police officer that she may end up kind of starting to have a little feeling for, they end up solving the murder. And there is not a short list of people that did not like this judge, so they had fun with that one. After that, I read A Madness So Discreet by Mindy McGinnis. I loved the first half of this book. I was so drawn in instantly when she was in the asylum and everything that was happening to her. And then when she, got put down in the cellar area, I was really into what all was happening. And then once the doctor, I cannot remember his name, comes and basically rescues her from the asylum and takes her with him because she has a photographic memory basically and can remember everything. And he wants her to help him solve murders. After that, it kind of lost me. I don't know if it was because I was so wrapped up in the asylum story that it just kind of took a turn and I was like, wait, what? The last half of the book did give me Stalking Jack the Ripper vibes as far as like the interest that the doctor had in wanting to see these murders and solve the murders and stuff like that. And I liked Stalking the Jack the Ripper and that whole series. It wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. But I ended up rating this book 3 stars. Like I said, I loved the first half of the book, and I'm glad she got out of the asylum, don't get me wrong, because she did not belong there. But I don't know, I would have liked a whole book of just her in the asylum with these people, because I really enjoyed that part. After that, I read Death of Darkness by Diane Duvall. This was my most anticipated book of the entire month. This book came out in August, and I've been waiting for this book since I read the first book. It was about Seth, who is the leader of the Immortal Guardians, and he is very secretive. No one really knows a whole lot about Seth. Basically just the bare minimum that he is willing to tell people. The only people that know the truth about him is his second in command, David, and later on Zach kind of knows, and that's only because they're so strong and so old that no one can read their minds. So the secret is safe with them. And I was really hoping that the secrets and everything, all those questions you have about Seth would be answered in this book, and they were, finally. And I tell you, I was blown away. It was completely different than I had expected. I was expecting one thing, and then when I read that, I was like, wait, what? And I had to go back and read it. I'm like, seriously? But I loved it. I loved how she wrapped that all up into who he is and how he is the way he is and how he was able to create the Immortal Guardians and all of that. So I'm so excited that they finally revealed all this about Seth. And I did read something from the author that said, because this is the most recent book that's out, and she did say that she is planning on writing several more. There are still several characters that are wanting their story told, and she's having too much fun with these characters not to continue writing these books. But unfortunately, they're just not coming out fast enough for me. Obviously, I rated that 5 stars. After that, I don't remember how I came across this book, but it was an audiobook on the Audible Escape, as well as the ebook is on the Kindle Unlimited. And so I don't remember how I came across this book, but whenever I found it, I had to take a break from my normal TBR and read it. And it's called Dark English by Isla Madden Mills. I'm not really sure how to say her first name. It was really good. This is kind of more of a college atmosphere. It is about this girl, Elizabeth Bennet. That is her real name. This book is a modern love story inspired by Pride and Prejudice. So the main character, Elizabeth Bennet, is going to college, and there is this guy, his name is Declan Blay, and he is from England. He ended up moving to this town to be with his father when his mom had passed away, him and his twin brother Dax. And so this story is about Elizabeth and Declan and how they met and the drama that they went through and then ended up falling in love. And it was amazing. And I will tell you, the audiobook, he has a British accent and it's amazing. And so I rated that 4 stars. After that, I read The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodgkins. This book kind of took me by surprise. I was expecting one thing and it was another. Every time I thought that I was figuring out what was going on, it wasn't. At one point, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, is she seeing ghosts? Or is she literally just insane? She ends up moving to Florida from Rhode Island after a tragic accident from where her and her childhood best friend and another girl and her brother end up basically having a building collapse on them. And it killed her childhood best friend and this other girl, Claire, and Claire's brother. And she starts having a lot of issues because everything reminds her of her best friend. And her mom's a psychiatrist, and so she's having a lot of problems, and she doesn't want to be like medicated or go to some treatment facility or anything like that. So she talks her parents into moving. So they move to Florida. She goes to a brand new school. She thinks that everything's going to be fine. She starts having nightmares and starts seeing things, and it gets pretty trippy. And Noah Shaw comes into play. If you've read the series, you know all about Noah. Or even if you haven't read it, but you've heard about the series, you've heard about Noah. And he has a story all of his own that you kind of find out just glimpses of it towards the end. And now I know why she made a spin-off series about Noah Shaw. But I really, really enjoyed this book. I did rate it 4 stars. I can't wait to pick up The Evolution of Mara Dyer this month in October to see what happens now that we've figured out what all was going on in the first book. But that's all that I read for the month of September. Like I said, I am in the process of reading Dark Lover, which is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. So I'm not exactly sure why I haven't finished it. I'm really enjoying this book. Other books just kind of keep stepping in the way of that, but I am really enjoying it, and I can't wait to finish the last half of the book so I can pick up the second book, Lover Eternal, this month. It is the second day of the Gilmore Girl readathon. I was not able to put up my video that I'd planned on putting up on the first day. I was going to do the Gilmore Girl tag on the very first day, and I'm probably still going to do it. I'll just do it a little bit later on throughout this readathon somewhere. I couldn't decide what book that I wanted to read for my first book for this readathon, so I actually wrote them down on a piece of paper, put them in a mug, and I drew it. I'll put a picture right here while I was at work yesterday. And so I did start that book. Better Than Chocolate it's okay so far. I don't know if I'm just not in the mood for this type of book right now or what, but it's not connecting with me right now. So I think I'm going to kind of stop for a second and pick up something else and see if I can get back to it and enjoy it a little bit later. I did end up running across a book by complete accident. One of those book advertisements on Facebook popped up, and it started out as just a joke. It's called There's to Pleasure by Stacia, I'm not sure how to say it, name Black. And this is the first book in I've seen it by 2 different names, the Marriage Raffle series and the Marriage Lottery series. And basically the premise is this is an apocalyptic world in Texas after this huge war broke out and a disease of some sort spread and started killing off women. And now there is 1 woman to about every 12 men. So in this little settlement in Texas, the commander who's over the settlement decides that every time a woman comes into the settlement, he is going to do kind of a lottery type thing where he will draw 5 men, and those 5 men will marry this woman. I started thinking, how is that gonna work? How does that work that you have 5 men to 1 woman? So I kind of started reading it, and I'm about 40% through it now, and I'm actually kind of enjoying it. It starts out with the prologue of them at their wedding. So it's Audrey and these 5 men at their wedding. And then it goes to chapter 1, which is 3 weeks later, and how she's leaving her uncle's bunker type thing, and her brother is taking her to this community on the coast of Texas called No Man's Land. Basically what it is exactly that. There are no men there. It's a community of just women. And so they're heading there, and they have an accident, and things happen, and she doesn't make it. And she winds up in this settlement, and as soon as she wakes up, she ends up escaping out of this bedroom that they kind of have her locked in right now because they're trying to protect her. But she's feeling like she's a prisoner, so she escapes. And she stumbles upon the lottery happening and them drawing the names of the men that are going to marry her. And things happen, and she winds up married, and because it's a romance, I assume she ends up falling in love with them and decides to stay. Haven't got there yet though, but I am actually enjoying this. So still not sure how that all plays out, but we will see. So that's it for right now. Let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I mentioned today, and if you did, what you thought of them. If you have not done it yet, like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications when I upload my videos. And that's it. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening and get some reading in. Bye.